A new class has officially joined the ranks of Dungeons & Dragons on D&D Beyond.
Yes! Yes!
D&D Beyond has welcomed only its second official new class to the world of Dungeons & Dragons. The first class, the Bloodhunter from Critical Role, has been around on the platform for years, and now a new entry has joined it, the Illrigger from Matt Colville and the MCDM team. And it's easily the most versatile class in D&D 5th edition. But before we dive into that, why not take a second to hit those like and subscribe buttons to help keep the channel going, and then let's talk about the newest class in D&D. The Illrigger is basically a Knight of Hell, an elite soldier working for the Infernal Powers. The Darth Vader to an Archdevil's Palpatine, if you will. However, this is not just some Infernal Paladin. The Illrigger is much more versatile, with the ability to branch out into several wildly different paths via its various subclasses, making it the most versatile class to hit D&D's official digital platform since, well, ever. An Illrigger can be a brutal, efficient melee tank, a stealthy, murderous assassin, a silver-tongued, deceitful diplomat, or even a powerful infernal wizard. But before we dive into their subclasses, let's talk about the core class abilities. And the biggest one of those is their interdictions. Infernal seals they can place on their enemies via attacks or using bonus actions. At the basic level, these seals stack, and every time the target of a seal takes damage, you can choose to burn those seals and do fire or necrotic damage for every seal on that target, starting at 1d6 damage per seal, increasing to 2d6 per seal at level 5, 3d6 at 10, and so on and so on. You also get new combat mastery options, very different from the ones that warriors have access to. A good example is the Bravado combat mastery, where you get to add your charisma to your AC as long as you aren't wearing armor, which is ideal for several of the less armored subclasses, and is great because most of the Illrigger subclasses are charisma reliant, and so is their interdict ability. They also gain interdict boons, which are personal enhancements like gaining temporary HP when you burn a seal, or removing a seal to grant yourself +2 to your armor class. At higher levels, the Illrigger can drain hit points from their enemies, invoke Hell to buff the powers of their subclasses, and even spin their hit dice to try and prevent failed saving throws. But the real meat of the Illrigger class is in its subclasses, so let's take a look at those. Architect of Ruin is the Spellcasting subclass, which allows you to spin your seals to disrupt other spellcasters, deal extra damage with your own spells, or even impose disadvantage on saves against your spells. They're also charisma-based spellcasters, meaning with a combat mastery like Bravado, you can effectively be a deadly spell sword as well, combining swordplay with shockingly high AC for an unarmored combatant, and spells like Haste and Mirror Image to keep you alive. Hellspeakers are sort of like the infernal version of bards, although their instrument is their silver tongue and ability to lie and manipulate. They get a bonus to charisma checks, and they specialize in enchanting and charming their foes, while their seals can be burned to impose disadvantage on charisma and wisdom saving throws against those abilities, redirecting enemy attacks, or even giving their own allies advantage on saving throws, making them deceitful but powerful battlefield commanders. The Painkillers, on the other hand, are a very different type of battlefield commander and are the frontline tanks of the Illriggers. While Hellspeakers buff their party members, Painkillers issue commands, in some cases literally commanding their allies to stay alive when they drop to 0 hit points. But as frontline fighters, they can also burn their seals to turn hits into critical hits, or retaliate against enemies who attack them, and they just tend to be the heavily armored heavy hitters of the Illriggers, sitting in the front line in plate mail and dealing out attacks of opportunity and soaking up damage. Sanguin Knights are the closest thing the Illriggers have to a healer, powerful warriors who can burn their seals to hand out temporary hit points to allies, or even take hit points from their enemies and restore them to their party members. Basically, they are armored blood sorcerers. They take the life force from their enemies and redistribute it to bolster the life force of their own party members as they fight, all while throwing in spells and attacks of their own to make them a formidable combatant on their own terms. And finally, we have the Shadow Master, the spy/poisoner/assassin of the Illriggers. They gain advantage on their first attack every turn against a target that has one of their seals on it, and they deal extra damage to those targets as well. And with a bonus to stealth checks, a bonus to their speed, and the ability to turn invisible or blind their opponents, they are an incredibly dangerous and swift assailant on the battlefield that brings a lot of the best elements of the rogue class to the Illrigger. This level of variety is basically unheard of in D&D 5e, with the ability to effectively multi-class baked right into the core Illrigger class itself, as these subclasses effectively turn them into, warrior / rogue / bard / sorcerer and more. Add in the infernal flavor behind it all, and the ability to do fun stuff like summon horned devils down the line. We think this could easily become one of the most popular classes on D&D Beyond. But if you want to bring the Illrigger to your table, you will need to purchase the Illrigger Revised Sourcebook on D&D Beyond for $15. But for the sheer variety you get out of this one single class, we'd consider that money very well spent. So what do you think about the Illrigger? Are you itching to play one in your next campaign? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.